What's up everybody, it's your boy Squints here, and today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to dominate the meters as Enhancement Shaman during Season 2 of The War Within. This season will be another incredible season for Enhancement Bros, with Totemic receiving major buffs and bringing back our Lava Lash build. This guide is going to be focused on teaching everything you need to know in order to play Totemic this season. At the moment, Totemic is beating Stormbringer in AOE scenarios, while Stormbringer is beating Totemic in single target. Stormbringer will be our Storm Strike build, while Totemic is our Lava Lash build. At the end of the day though, I always want to encourage you to play what you enjoy. And if you want to stay up to date with everything Enhancement or ask me some questions, make sure to join the community Discord below, because it's still extremely early in the season and things are subject to change. If Totemic scares you because it is the more challenging hero talent in my opinion, you can learn how to play Stormbringer in my guide here. During this video, we'll be covering stats, set bonuses, talent changes, along with builds and rotation. And lastly, we'll cover defensive, support, CC, and utility. So make sure to hover the video to view the chapters, and let's get into it. For stats, Totemic will focus Mastery, Haste, then Crit. Our set bonus is a lot of fun in AoE, giving us a ton of extra damage, but unfortunately isn't the most exciting in single target and won't be fully used in Totemic. For our two-piece, our abilities including Wind Fury procs have a chance to trigger a winning streak. This increases the damage of Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and Doom Winds by 5% and stacks up to 5, increasing the total damage bonus to 25%. Every charge of Maelstrom spent has a 1% chance to remove winning streak, so spending 10 Maelstrom is a 10% chance to remove the buff. For the 4-piece, when you lose winning streak, you'll gain Doom Winds for 4 seconds, and whenever Doom Winds deals damage, your next Crash Lightning cast deals 24% increased damage up to 120%. This effect stacks to 10, and each cast will spend a maximum of 5 stacks. Additionally, Crash Lightning deals 50% increased damage to your current target. When it comes to talents, we had some changes worth covering quickly. Ancestral Guidance has been removed from our class talents, and Healing Stream Totem has been buffed. On our spec tree, a lot of talents have been swapped in the middle of the tree, making pathing so much better for our Lava Lash builds. Elemental Spirits has been nerfed and we will no longer be using it. Primordial Wave has been reworked and now hits all targets with Flame Shock applied. You can actually no longer use the ability unless Flame Shock is on a target. It will also instantly give you 5 stacks of Maelstrom, but the only downside with this change is we have lost that big burst AoE with Lightning Bolt. But on the upside, this has removed the GCD, which helps this hero talent a ton, and I guess has kind of made the spec slightly easier for new players. The follow-up talent still provides haste per target hit, and the capstone is completely new. Primordial Storm deals big AoE damage with all the elements and is usable for 15 seconds after casting Primordial Wave. This is 3 instant melees which deal AoE damage and will also send out a buffed Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning, depending on whichever you cast most recently. Primordial Wave actually turns into Primordial Storm, which is great because we do not need to add an additional button to our bars. With our Totemic builds this season, we won't be using Ascendance, which is pretty great in my opinion. This helps create 2 very distinctive builds and play styles for Enhancement. So if you enjoyed Ascendance, go check out Stormbringer. With that, we will now always take Amplification Core. A major buff hit our hero talents as well, where Reactivity received a 20% buff to the Sundering effectiveness triggered during Hot Hands Lava Lashes. This is a major buff, making those casts very strong. Don't be surprised if this gets nerfed though. Let's chat about our builds, and as always, you can find an import code to each build in the description below. And while you're down there, don't forget to join the community Discord to stay up to date with any enhancement changes. Here's our raid build for single target fights. As you can see, we don't take Crash Lightning, and the reasons are twofold. On one hand, we want the extra talent points for other talents that offer us much more damage, and on the other, it's a GCD that can overcomplicate and break the flow of the build in single target. It feels weird since it's part of our 4-piece set, but if you want to play with it, check out Stormbringer. This is our AoE raid build, which will actually take Crash Lightning, of course. Now that would be crazy if I told you not to take it here, but who knows, things are subject to change. For Mythic Plus, this will be our base build. And if you're looking for a little more AoE oomph, you can pick up a Lashing Flames with this build. And with all that AoE talk, you're probably wondering, if I want more single target damage and Mythic Plus, what do I take? Well, you can pick Elemental Blast with this build. Now let's talk about our AoE rotation, starting with the opener. This graphic is more scary than it actually is, so don't worry. First, you'll want to precast Surging Totem. This is to get the Whirling Earth, so Flame Shock deals increased damage and spreads for our Primordial Wave. On the way into the pool, you will Flame Shock into Primordial Wave. During the GCD between Flame Shock and P-Wave, use your Totemic Projection to relocate Surging Totem into the action. Next, you'll want to Crash Lightning. Between Wind Fury procs, this will set you up and you will hopefully have 10 Maelstrom to spend on a Chain Lightning. If not, throw a Storm Strike out. We want 10 Maelstrom for this Chain Lightning to trigger our Legacy of the Frost Witch talent for increased physical and frost damage. After that Chain Lightning, you'll cast Doom Winds, and at this moment, you can be faced with the choice. If Hot Hands procs, your next cast will be a Lava Lash. Lava Lash spam will get you to 10 Maelstrom, where you will then cast a Primordial Storm. After Hot Hands drops, you will cast your Sundering, spamming it until it doesn't hit a free reset. It's important to note that anytime during this opener, Hot Hands can proc, which will either lead to some Lava Lash spamming or Lava Lash weaving, which we'll talk about in a few moments. If you don't randomly proc Hot Hands, you'll follow up with 2 Sunderings, and by then should be at 10 Maelstrom. If you're not, you can use Storm Strike to get there so that you can then cast Primordial Storm followed by Lava Lash. When it comes to our rotation, it's very reactive rather than proactive, so it's best to think about it as a priority list where you always want to use your highest priority button. Our highest priority is always making sure Surging Totem is down and in the action. Remember, Totemic Projection is off the GCD. Next up, you'll want to cast Primordial Storm when at 10 Maelstrom. The button you will be pressing the most is Lava Lash. With the buff to our reactivity hero talent, you'll want to make sure you are getting as many Lava Lash casts off when Hot Hands is active. Lava Lash strikes in a cone shape, so make sure to position yourself accordingly. And if you're new to Lava Lash and Hot Hands, it's all about Lava Weaving, baby, which we'll talk about in a moment. After Lava Lash with Hot Hands active, you'll want to use Sundering with our Legacy of the Frostwith buff active, which comes from spending 10 Maelstrom. There are a ton of WeakAuras that can track this buff for you, but if you want to use mine along with my UI, check out my Notion interface page in the description below. If Legacy of the Frost Witch is not active and you don't have Primordial Storm, but the 10 Maelstrom to spend, cast Chain Lightning. After all that, your next ability will be Crash Lightning, and most importantly, you want to make sure you maintain the Crash Lightning buff. This is also a part of a WeakAura package I use that you can find on my Notion page. If you don't have Hot Hands available or none of the above, use Lava Lash. And if you don't have that, you'll use Storm Strike, and Flame Shock will be your filler. Before we dive into cooldowns and combos, let's talk about Lava Lash weaving. If you're new to Lava Lash builds, this is where you will lose a lot of your damage. You always want to cast every single Lava Lash you can during Hot Hands. In some cases, your haste may be so high that you can just spam the damn thing if Hot Hands keeps proccing. In other cases, you'll have to weave it within your rotation. Hot Hands comes in hot and will keep you on your toes. Make sure to react to it as quickly as possible so you don't lose any damage. When it comes to weaving, it will always be Lava Lash followed by your next highest prio button available, followed by Lava Lash and your next highest prio button. This pattern will just continue to repeat until Hot Hands is gone. For cooldowns, we have 2. Doom Winds and Primordial Wave, which activates Primordial Storm. As you saw in our opener, we will always Primordial Wave before Doom Winds, and you'll want to do this outside of your opener every 60 seconds. This is to get that sweet haste buff from our Splintered Elements talent before going into Doom Winds. With Primordial's Wave short cooldown, you will use it on cooldown, just make sure to align every other with Doom Winds. Speaking of aligning Primordial Wave with Doom Winds, let's talk about our combo. You'll want to use Primordial Wave into spending 10 Maelstrom to activate Legacy of the Frost Witch, then pop Doom Winds. While in Doom Winds, your goal is to get as many main hand attacks off to proc your hero talent Abundant Mastery. This deals a ton of damage. Here's a small prio example of what abilities you want to focus on casting during these windows. Lava Lash with Hot Hands, and weaving it of course, Sundering resets, and Crash Lightning. If you don't have hot hands, you can still Lava Lash and Storm Strike. I know that was a lot, so take some time to practice and digest it all, but here's an example of it in action. But before we dive in, let me explain my UI so that you know exactly what you're looking at and where to look. You can also find my UI on my Notion page, and by the way, this footage is from the PTR, and PTR servers aren't great, so things may look wonky. It's also important to note that Totemic has uncapped AOE damage, so your damage output will be higher in Mythic Plus than on the dummies. Here are my buffs like Legacy of the Frost Witch and Hot Hands and the new tier set bonuses. My core rotation abilities, my Maelstrom, my Crash Lightning buff, and lastly my DPS and the buttons I am pressing. Now that we covered AoE, let's talk single target, and the good news is it's a lot easier. For our opener, you'll want to drop Surging Totem, buy you a few seconds before the pull, and then precast an Elemental Blast. Follow that up with Flame Shock and relocating your Surging Totem with Totemic Projection into Primordial Wave. Hit Lava Lash, which will trigger Hot Hands, and if it ends up going on cooldown, send a quick Storm Strike. Once at 10 Maelstrom, cast Elemental Blast to trigger Legacy of the Frost Witch, followed by another Lava Lash into a Doom Winds. And lastly, get to 10 Maelstrom for a Primordial Storm. Arguably a lot easier than the AoE one. Now let's chat about our single target priority. At the top, once again, we will have Surging Totem and Primordial Storm. And of course, Lava Lash with Hot Hands. Again, it is extremely important to react to Hot Hands procs and get as many Lava Lashes off as possible, which means you'll have to Lava Lash weave. I'll cover weaving one more time in just a moment. Followed by those big dogs, you will have to spend Maelstrom at 10 stacks, and you will prioritize Elemental Blast, and if it's on cooldown, it will be a Lightning Bolt. After spending Maelstrom, it will be a Lava Lash without Hot Hands, and if that's on cooldown, it will be a Storm Strike. If you don't have anything available, you can use Frost Shock or Flame Shock as a filler. For lava weaving, it's fairly straightforward. When Hot Hands procs, hit Lava Lash and then follow it up with your highest prio spender. Then Lava Lash into your next highest prio spender, and so on until the buff drops. For cooldowns, you'll use Primordial Wave on cooldown and always use it before Doom Winds to get our haste bonus from Splintered Elements. Every 60 seconds, you'll want to make sure to align the two abilities so every other Primordial Wave will be followed up by Doom Winds. Now, let's take a look at our opener into rotation. Before we head out, I like to always cover our defensive support abilities and crowd control so that you know when and how to use them. Astral Shift is our main defensive on a 90-second cooldown. It's a 40% damage reduction. Always try to use it before the damage is going out, so before a spell cast hits you or before an AoE damage cast. Stone Bulwark Totem is our filler for when Astral Shift is on cooldown, gives us a little absorb shield. Same thing here, use it before the damage goes out, and that is true for every single defensive in the game. Earth Elemental, aka the best off tank in Mythic Plus, gives us a health increase and damage reduction. He's on a 5-minute cooldown, so you won't use him too often, but when you do, use it to save yourself or the tank or the group if the tank dies. Spirit Wolf is not something to sleep on. It is great to hop into for a quick 5% damage reduction when targeted or being hit by big AoE, especially in high-end Mythic Plus keys. It's also great to prepare for those moments by going into it to receive the full 20% DR over the course of the 4 seconds. We are squishy, and this can be a lifesaver when your other defensives are on cooldown. And well, Nature's Guardian is our crappy cheat death. sorry. For support abilities, we have Earth Shield. Keep it on yourself and one other ally, like your healer and Mythic Plus. Unless he's a shaman, then pick whoever you really want to pick that doesn't have Earth Shield, which is probably anybody but the tank and the healer. Healing Surge is worth spending Maelstrom on to live and help the healer with some spot heals. Healing Totem is a thing now, and yeah, if everything is on cooldown and you don't need to refresh Earth Shield, drop a Healing Totem, but at the moment, none of our builds take Healing Totem. I'm just putting it here to put it here. Poison Cleanse Totem, it's in the name and it's part of the game. Use it to help out the healers and cleanse some poison. Cleanse Spirit removes curses. We are one of the few classes that can do this, so use it to help the healers out if there are ever any curses in the content you're playing. For crowd control, we have Wind Shear. It's our interrupt on a 15-second cooldown. Use it, get used to using it. Kick stuff, don't be that guy. Cap Totem is a giant AoE stun. Super awesome, use it to stop cast and prevent trash from channeling. Thunderstorm, same thing, but it's a short cooldown knockup. Lastly is our utility. Wind Rush Totem is great to use in combat to help melee reposition. For mechanic, you can also cast it out in range to help them there as well. And Spirit Walker's Grace, which is a part of our raid builds, is great to use when you have to go out of range, allowing you to cast lightning bolts or elemental blasts to keep up your uptime. With all that, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and make sure to join the community Discord to stay up to date with everything Enhancement Shaman in Season 2. If Totemic felt like an overloaded casino slot machine, well, maybe you should check out my Stormbringer guide here. And as always, make sure you punch that like button, kiss that subscribe button, and tickle my bell to stay up to date with future guides and content coming out on the channel. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.